Many adults think they're making smart financial choices, budgeting, saving, paying bills on time. But there's one silent mistake that most people make, quietly undermining their wealth. Today, we'll uncover this mistake, explore why it's so common, and show how small changes can have a huge impact over time. This mistake isn't flashy, there's no dramatic overspending or risky investments. It's quiet, invisible, and often overlooked. Yet it costs adults thousands of dollars over their lifetime, and it happens even to people who consider themselves financially responsible. Meet Rachel. She's 34 years old. A working professional earning about $75,000 a year. By most standards, Rachel is doing everything right. She contributes to her retirement account every month. She pays her credit cards on time. She avoids unnecessary debt. She keeps her spending fairly controlled. Friends often describe her as financially responsible. And for years, Rachel believed the same. Her plan seemed simple and sensible. Work steadily, save consistently, let time do the rest. But one evening, while reviewing her finances, she noticed something unsettling. Her wealth wasn't growing the way she expected. Her savings were increasing, but slowly. Her investments were moving, but not dramatically. Considering how disciplined she had been for years, the progress felt surprisingly small. At first, she wondered if she simply needed to save more. But when she looked closer, the real issue wasn't obvious spending mistakes. It was something quieter, something almost invisible. Inflation was slowly reducing the real value of her money. Investment fees were quietly eating away at returns. Small recurring costs, subscriptions, account charges, convenience fees were accumulating in the background. None of these costs felt dramatic. No single charge looked dangerous. But together, they were quietly slowing Rachel's financial progress. The frustrating part, she hadn't done anything wrong. She was disciplined, responsible, consistent, yet hidden financial inefficiencies were silently working against her. Rachel's story reveals an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes wealth doesn't stagnate because of bad habits. It stagnates because of invisible forces, small costs, hidden frictions, and economic realities that most people rarely think about. And until you notice them, they quietly shape your financial future. The frustrating part about Rachel's situation is that nothing looked like a mistake. There was no reckless spending, no massive financial blunder, no dramatic loss. Instead, the problem looked like normal, everyday behavior. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Take investment fees, for example. Many people never review them. A fund charging 1% or 2% annually doesn't sound like much. But over decades, that small percentage quietly eats thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars from potential returns. It's not visible, it's deducted automatically. So most people never question it. Then there are subscriptions, streaming services, apps, cloud storage, online memberships. Individually, they might cost $5, $10, or $15 a month. Nothing alarming, but over time, forgotten renewals pile up, and suddenly, hundreds of dollars a year disappear without providing real value. Next comes inflation, the silent eroder. Money sitting in a low-interest savings account may feel safe. But if inflation is rising faster than your savings grow, the real value of that money is shrinking. In other words, the number stays the same. But what it can buy slowly decreases. Then there's delayed investing. Many people wait for the perfect moment to invest. They plan to start next year, or after a raise, or when markets feel more stable, but time is the most powerful ingredient in compounding. Every year delayed is a year lost, and compounding doesn't get those years back. None of these behaviors feel dramatic. Each one seems small, reasonable, easy to ignore. But together, they create a slow financial leak. Not a sudden collapse, just quiet erosion. And that's what makes silent money mistakes so powerful. They don't shock you. They simply reduce what your future could have been, without you noticing it happening. So why do so many intelligent, responsible adults fall into this trap? The answer isn't ignorance, it's psychology. First, there's the invisibility of small losses. Our brains are not designed to notice tiny, repeated costs. $10 here, $15 there. A small fee deducted quietly in the background. Each one feels insignificant. Your brain registers it as harmless. But what the brain struggles to see is accumulation. Those small amounts don't stay small. They repeat every month, every year. And when compounded over time, what once felt trivial becomes meaningful. Then there's avoidance and overwhelm. Modern finances are complicated. Multiple accounts, investment platforms, credit cards, subscriptions, insurance policies. Reviewing everything regularly can feel exhausting. So many people default to the easiest strategy, ignore it, not because they don't care, but because the mental effort feels too heavy. Next comes optimism bias. Most people naturally believe their financial situation will improve over time. Future raises, future opportunities, future discipline. So the brain assumes things will work out eventually, even without immediate changes. But optimism without action rarely changes outcomes. Finally, there's short-term thinking. The consequences of these small financial leaks rarely show up today. They show up years later. The problem with long-term consequences is that the brain discounts them heavily. Immediate comfort feels more important than distant benefits. Avoiding a tedious financial review today feels easier than protecting wealth 10 years from now. And that's how silent money mistakes survive, not because people are careless, but because the human brain struggles to detect slow erosion. It reacts strongly to big, sudden losses, but when money disappears gradually, through fees, inflation, and inefficiencies, the brain barely notices, until years pass, and the progress that should have happened simply isn't there. Take a moment and think about this. Most financial setbacks don't come from one dramatic mistake. They come from small things repeated over time. A fee you never questioned, a subscription you forgot about, money sitting idle while inflation slowly chips away at its value. None of these feel urgent. None of them demand your attention. And that's exactly why they persist. Now ask yourself honestly. Is there a financial account you haven't reviewed in a while? An investment you set up years ago and never checked again? Subscriptions quietly renewing every month. Sometimes the most powerful financial improvement doesn't come from earning more or making risky investments. It comes from something much simpler, awareness. Because once you notice the leaks, you finally have the power to fix them, and small corrections today can prevent surprisingly large losses tomorrow. Once Rachel understood what was happening, she didn't panic. She didn't try to overhaul her entire financial life overnight. Instead, she approached it like a quiet investigation, step by step. First, she reviewed every subscription tied to her bank account. Streaming services, apps she downloaded years ago, memberships she barely used, some of them surprised her. A fitness app she hadn't opened in months. A cloud storage plan she didn't actually need. An online service she forgot she had ever signed up for. Individually, none of them looked expensive. But together, they were quietly draining hundreds of dollars every year. So she canceled the ones that no longer added value. Next, Rachel turned her attention to her investment accounts. For the first time, she carefully examined the fees attached to them, management fees, expense ratios. Small percentages that had seemed harmless when she first opened the accounts, but when she compared options, she realized there were lower fee alternatives available. By switching to those, she allowed more of her money to stay invested and grow. Then she made one more simple change. She automated additional contributions into accounts that benefited from compounding. Every month, a portion of her income moved automatically into long-term investments. No decision required, no temptation to skip it. The system worked quietly in the background, and over time, the results became noticeable. Her savings began growing faster, her investments accumulated momentum. But perhaps the most important change wasn't the numbers, it was the feeling. Rachel no longer felt like her finances were drifting in the background. She felt in control. Her experience reveals a powerful lesson. Building wealth isn't only about making big, dramatic financial decisions. Sometimes the biggest impact comes from fixing the small, invisible inefficiencies that quietly slow progress. When those leaks disappear, progress suddenly becomes much easier. Here's the important realization. Wealth is rarely destroyed in one dramatic moment. More often, it disappears quietly. Not through a crisis, not through a reckless gamble, but through small leaks that go unnoticed for years. A fee deducted every month, a subscription you stopped using. Money sitting idle while inflation slowly reduces its value. Individually, these things feel harmless, but over time, they quietly shape your financial future. The difference between financial stagnation and financial growth often isn't a massive investment decision. It's the willingness to notice and correct these small inefficiencies. When you reduce unnecessary fees, when you eliminate spending that no longer serves you, when you allow your money to compound instead of sitting idle, you stop the silent erosion. And once that erosion stops, your wealth finally has room to grow. Silent doesn't mean harmless, but the moment you become aware, you take the first real step toward financial control and long-term empowerment. Most adults are unknowingly making a silent money mistake. What small financial habit could you change today to protect your future wealth? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's help each other stop these silent wealth leaks. Subscribe for more videos and practical strategies to grow and protect your money.